She's a real woman with a real life. She's someone you can relate to. Dawn Newton.
Welcome to the Dawn Newton Podcast. I am your host, Dawn Newton. My guest today is an award-winning visual effects veteran and writer-director. His name is Alan Chan. He's worked on Academy Award-winning films such as Titanic, Lord of the Rings, and Alice in Wonderland. Now, Alan Chan has added another impressive accomplishment to his already illustrious career with his first novel, Abundance.
Alan Chan, it is such a pleasure to speak with you. Congratulations on your debut novel, Abundance. Thanks again for this opportunity. And not only that this is a first-time author, or, well, I don't know. I mean, you've been in the industry for quite a while. The movies that you have worked on, you know, it presents like, well, here's a new novel and here's a new author. But that I don't know that I could label you that way.
Well, you know, most of my other stuff has been in the visual effects field, you know, in movies and television and games and stuff. So this is the first time that I'm actually writing a book. So, yeah. In a way, I guess that's a new author then.
Well, and let's just name drop some of these movies, these Academy Award-winning films like the Titanic, Lord of the Rings, Alice in Wonderland. I mean, there's been World of Warcraft. I mean, the ad campaigns, everything that you've done. I mean, this is, these are some pretty big films that you've been involved in, that you've been instrumental in, actually. And then now as an author, tell us about this book, Abundance.
So Abundance is a near future thriller sci-fi book. It sort of talks about the first commercial mission to space to capture an asteroid for space mining, which is a very near possibility in the near future. So obviously something, you know, goes wrong with the mission. There's an accident, and our protagonist, Chuck Sorrell, is assigned to solve the case, figure out what went wrong and stuff. So as he digs deeper, he finds that there's a conspiracy, essentially, you know, to basically, there are a lot of people that are trying to hide things, if you will.
Where did this idea come from? Is this something that you've always been in love with as far as space and that exploration piece?
I've always been in love with space. This is going to date me, but I grew up in the Apollo era. When I was a child, I was promised that I would be working on the moon. You know, as it turns out, I'm still down here. Space has always been like a big part of me. So all of the projects that I've done, like all my personal projects, the short films and stuff, have mostly been about space. So in a way, you know, this book sort of follows that thread.
Well, and then doing the research for this, there's so much happening right now with NASA, SpaceX, the Rocket Lab, all of the things that are happening. SpaceX is sometimes you cannot not watch it. It's just so fascinating how fast that was developed and the technology and where we're seeing things with space right now. This book it's almost like it's maybe a crystal ball as to what we're going to be seeing soon.
Yeah, hopefully it is. The funny thing is I was actually there, I think 15 years ago when SpaceX first made orbit. They were like a scrappy little startup at the time. And, I got to run the camera for the webcast. And so being there when they first made orbit, I assume that must have been what the Kennedy Space Center would be like when we landed on the moon. It was pretty amazing and inspiring to actually be there.
Going back to the beginning, how did this get started for you to begin with? Working in film, the visual piece of it, where did that come from? What was the inspiration for you for that?
So I started the book actually with a co-author, Luke Dormel, who is a technical writer. He does a lot of interviews with entrepreneurs and stuff. So this idea basically sprang from all of his interviews with all these people. Luke, obviously, at some point, he had to back away from the project, so I went ahead and finished it. That's why he's listed as a contributor on the book. The idea basically came from him interviewing all these people, because there are companies out there that are actively looking to mine asteroids. So that's where the story essentially comes from.
Well, I'm curious about that. What does that mean to mine asteroids?
Mining asteroids is basically, NASA is sending a probe right now to an asteroid called Psyche. And that asteroid is classified as a metallic asteroid, which means that there is a ton of precious metals on that asteroid. Now, if we can send somebody there to mine the asteroid, we can essentially bring back precious metals and stuff to, raw materials to help sort of build things over here. So the potential cost of the Psyche asteroid, I think, is something like $900 quadrillion or something. So there's a lot of money in there to be made if we can actually mine an asteroid, which is why people are actually trying to do so.
Well, I think, you just said something, the amount of money that's involved. If we, going into space was, for science and to learn and other worlds and all these things but now, you're bringing in that piece that, I haven't thought about, but I was like, well, yeah, we're going to start commercializing space. That's going to create a whole new arena.
Yeah. Yes, and we actually do need to, essentially, at some point the technology is built now so that in order to expand our reach into space and to, explore space further, we kind of have to commercialize space in a way, right? So this is one of those ventures that people are looking at to possibly do that.
Well, and that's the one thing that's interesting is it's almost like this is just going to be, here, would you like a ride into space? Are we going to lose the integrity, the respect for space if we go that route? I could see that happening. I know sometimes just what we've done on Earth hasn't been in Earth's best interest. It'll be curious to see how this advances. But I think your book really sheds a light on that.
Yeah, there's always critics and stuff like that too, right? So it's not like it's a cut and dry thing where it's like, oh, this is a great thing, let's go do it. There's always pluses and minuses to doing that. So what I tried to do in the book is sort of cover both sides, or tell both sides of the story, if you will.
Are we going to see this come to film? I can't imagine we're not.
I have been asked that. My answer was always like, hey, let me get the book published first, and then we'll see where that goes.
I could just see the storyboards of the visual effects that you're creating for this. It would probably be pretty spectacular.
There are art pieces. Like, part of our development cycle was actually to sketch out some of the spaceships that are talked about in the book. The trajectories and the missions in the book are actually accurate. We got a hold of a doctorate in orbital mechanics to help us design this mission. So everything in the mission respects the law of space, orbital mechanics and gravity and stuff like that. So it's pretty accurate to a certain extent.
And when we see you in the film, I can't imagine that you wouldn't. There has to be a cameo or something with Alan Chan in there, kind of like the Marvel movies.
I'm usually the guy behind the camera, so we'll see.
And what has this work meant to you? Everything from the big blockbuster films that you've worked on to something like this is, I'm sure, is much more personal.
It is. Yeah, it's basically sort of a passion project. It took us like 4 or 5 years to actually complete this thing. So we started before COVID. So you sort of see how long it took. So I'm hoping that the next one will actually take a shorter amount of time, because we have half the story already constructed. We kind of know where things are going to go in the next couple of books. So, hopefully we can get that sooner.
Now, will this be a series, or is this a standalone?
There will be. I have 2 more books planned. With essentially the trilogy will have sort of a thematic theme to it, and there's a thesis at the end of it to sort of cap everything else. So it will. I'm planning for it to be 3 books, and then maybe go on to a different series or something. I am enjoying the act of writing, so I'll probably end up doing more of that in the future.
Are you finding, doing the visual effects, being behind the scenes, being behind essentially pen and paper, do you have a favorite, or do you love all of your kids the same?
Writing is a very lonely thing. You kind of, do that. essentially in your own head and stuff. But I do enjoy the fact that when I'm writing this book, I can explain thoughts that are happening inside people's heads. So that's a big difference from writing, like a screenplay and stuff, where essentially you have to let the actions show most of this stuff. So it was great to actually be able to sort of explain motivations behind each character.
And do you have a favorite, inspiration, role model, someone that you've worked with over the years, maybe someone that's new that really has inspired you?
Not really. I'm not the kind of guy to really believe in heroes. But I think if you were asking that question, the closest person that might come to that might be like Elon Musk and SpaceX, because the stuff that he's doing right now is just mind-boggling. Watching him catch the booster, watching SpaceX catch the booster, with chopsticks. Yeah, that was pretty inspiring to watch.
Well, and it's just, we're enamored in awe of Elon Musk and his brain, to the point where some friend said, I think he's from space. He's not of this world, which I think it just goes along with your writing, which is pretty phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. I think he's done a lot of great things, and, hopefully we'll just keep pushing on, towards the stars. So maybe I will actually get to work on the moon, in some stuff. We'll see.
And upcoming projects, what else are we going to see from you? Continued writing? Are you taking a step back from film at this point and focusing on writing and bringing abundance to life? What's next for you?
No, I'm going to continue writing, but, because it's the first novel, it won't support my lifestyle, I guess. So, I'll just have to continue, doing the day job, which is actually fun. I am working for a game company doing cinematics. So, I enjoy doing that. But essentially, I'll be working on the next book, in my spare time.
And the work that you've done, Alan, 20-year visual effects veteran, the career, very impressive career on what you've worked on. What is your advice to maybe aspiring visual effects up-and-comers or people wanting to work in that industry, and even as an author? I
think passion has got to be the biggest thing. When I do something, I pretty much throw myself into it, and just make it the best that you can make it within the time that you are given. There's always a time limit to doing stuff. So you do your best, and you basically sort of push through it and try to create the best thing that you can. I think, the quality is going to show. So once you prove that you can deliver the quality, people will keep coming back to you for that.
And who do you want reading this book? Who is this book for?
This book is for me. This book is for people like me. I like books about the near future. They can sort of show me the way forward, if you will, for lovers of hard science fiction readers, speculative science fiction. And then there's a thriller element to it, too. It's essentially a investigative procedural thriller book as well. So those are kind of the people that I would hope, would discover and enjoy this book.
Well, I sure hope it comes to life soon, because I think I'd love to see who you cast. I'd love to see the visual effects. And then I think just the overall message, kind of educating the rest of us, this is kind of the future that we need to be preparing for.
Yeah. So casting. Yeah. I guess now that the book is released, and we'll start looking at maybe turning it into a movie. Maybe we'll see.
I think that would be pretty full circle. Alan, where can we find the book, Abundance, and learn more about you and your work?
Sure. The book is on Amazon. If you go on Amazon and search for Abundance, Alan Chan, AlanChan, you should be able to find the book. There's some really good reviews on it right now, so I'm really happy that it's really well received. I do have a personal website, a sort of author website at mahalobay.net, mahalobay.net, where you can basically, dig up additional information on the book and background info as well.
Congratulations on this work. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and I look forward to more work.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Dawn Newton podcast, and a special thank you to my guest, award-winning visual effects veteran, writer-director, and now author, Alan Chan. For more information about Alan and his work, mahalobay.net is the place to go. His book Abundance can be found anywhere books are sold. Be sure and check out my website, dawnnewton.com. The Dawn Newton Podcast is written, produced, and hosted by Dawn Newton.